What if your nervous system isn't overreacting? What if it just never learned what calm feels like? We talk so much about stress, about anxiety and burnout, but not what it means to really feel safe in your body, especially if you've never felt that safety. So if you're feeling exhausted or overwhelmed or wondering why nothing is working for you, this might be the piece that's missing. Hello everyone and welcome to Bloom and Well. I'm Dr. Mackenzie, and today we're going to talk about why safety isn't just a mindset, how it is actually a biological experience, and most importantly, how you can start giving your body the safety that it's craving without needing to be perfect or without needing to be perfectly healed. Let's talk about something that no one really teaches us when we're growing up, especially if you've always felt anxious or shut down or completely out of sync with your body. Your nervous system is not wired to keep you calm and to keep you at peace. It is wired to keep you alive. So when your body doesn't feel safe, it's not necessarily because you're doing something wrong, it's because your nervous system has learned how to be on guard constantly. So the simplest way to think about it is to see your nervous system kind of like a guard dog. So that guard dog is essentially trained to bark when it sees danger, whether it's a real threat or someone that's just walking too close to the fence line, like the mailman or a friend coming over to visit. And if that dog has been raised in a dangerous neighborhood, it's going to bark a lot, even when it doesn't need to. And that's what happens inside of your body when you've lived through chronic stress or trauma or chronic health issues, or just growing up in a very unpredictable environment when you were young. Your internal alarm system, that fight, flight, freeze, or fawn, got really good at spotting anything in the vicinity or any situation that could possibly go wrong. So maybe you flinched at a raised voice, or maybe your body freezes up when it's time to relax and rest. Maybe your mind is racing through different worst case scenarios before your feet even hit the floor in the mornings. And I want to emphasize that it's not a weakness. That is actually your body being very intelligent and loving you and trying to care for you in the best way that it knows how. The body is essentially saying, hey, we've seen this danger before. Hey, we've seen this threat before. And I'll do anything to keep you safe. I love you so much, I'll take care of you no matter what. I want you to hear this very loud and clear. Your symptoms are not personal failures. You being unable to get out of bed in the morning is not a failure. You struggling with anxiety every day when you're on your way to work is not a failure. They are survival strategies. So they're not character flaws. There's nothing wrong with you, right? Your body is doing its best to take care of you. And sometimes that is in ways that feel very difficult to live with. But the good news is that if your body learned how to be on that high alert, it can learn to come back to the safety too. What does safety even actually feel like in your body, right? Because when we talk about wanting to feel safe all of the time, we really want that, right? But most of us were never taught what that means, what that looks like. So safety isn't about locking your doors or finishing your to-do list. I mean, it is, but it's not just something you think, right? It's not a to-do list. It's something that you feel, something your nervous system feels. And it's very specific. So when your body and your nervous system feel safe, it sends chemical and electrical signals throughout the body to relay that message so that the muscles relax, so that the proper systems are activated and the ones that aren't needed are deactivated. It's like these tiny little shifts that say, I can let go, I can relax. Inside of your body, that could look like you washing the dishes and then realizing your jaw isn't clenched anymore, or your shoulders have relaxed and they're not scrunched up to your ears anymore. Maybe you're sitting in traffic and you catch yourself relaxing and exhaling really slowly and taking some very deep belly breaths that you didn't even necessarily plan. Maybe you're noticing your tongue isn't sticking to the roof of your mouth anymore, or your teeth aren't clenched really tight. Your hands might feel warm and loose instead of really balled up or fidgety, like you can't sit still. All of these are gentle signals and signs that your body is relaxing, your nervous system is coming back into that safety mode. Here's what it might look like in your environment. So maybe you are curled up in a worn out section of the couch with a weighted blanket and nothing on your to-do list feels urgent. Or maybe you're sitting across from someone that you care about who cares about you and they listen to you without interrupting. And maybe your eyes soften instead of darting around the room, catching every possible exit strategy or analyzing every threat in the room. Maybe you're standing barefoot on cold tile in the morning and enjoying the sun through the window and you have a warm cup of tea with no pressure. Maybe you walk into a dimly lit room and you hear music playing and you start to feel your breath deepen and your shoulders relax even more. And you're not even having to put in the effort to think about all of these things. You light the same candle every evening and that smell triggers your brain, hey, we're done for the day. It's time to relax. We don't have to worry about anything else today. These are essentially these micro moments of safety that are easy for you to miss consciously, but your nervous system picks everything up. So they don't have to be super dramatic. They don't even have to feel dramatic, but your nervous system notices them no matter how small. So every single one is a chance for you to rewire the way that your brain and body are experiencing the world around you. And you don't have to wait until your environment is perfect to feel safe. And you don't have to wait until your body is fully healthy 100% to feel safe. You just have to start recognizing those moments when safety already exists or where you can create more safety in your daily life. And once you know what to look for, you can start to create more of them, and your brain is naturally going to start analyzing those positives more so than the negatives and the threats. The part that most people don't typically hear from their doctors or even therapists is your nervous system isn't stuck, right? Even though you feel this way, and maybe you felt this way for a very long time, years, decades for me, right? Your brain isn't broken because it's neuroplastic. It can be retrained. So let's talk a bit more about how your nervous system works. So your vagus nerve, think of it as this really long nerve that travels parallel essentially to your spine. And this communicates between your brain and the rest of your body. So there are constantly signals that are being sent from your body through this vagus nerve up to your brain to say, hey, here's how we're doing, here's what we need, here's what we have and what we don't have. And then there's more signals from the brain that are getting sent down that vagus nerve into the rest of the body saying, hey, here's what I want you to do, or here's what I want you to do, here's what you need, here's how we're going to get that to you, etc. Like they're controlling everything and letting everyone know what's going to happen and how it's going to happen. There's constantly feedback going both ways. So are we safe right now, or do we need something else to survive? Depending on what your brain or your body is sensing, you might shift into different states. And at the very bottom, we have the freeze state, which we've talked about recently. That's where you're shut down, you're disconnected, you're numb, you don't feel much emotion at that point. And then above that, you might feel anxiety and tension in that fight or flight mode, where you feel like you need to constantly do something or try to fix something. And then at the very top, where we're safe and calm and peaceful, that is where we like to spend our time. That is where our bodies were designed to spend the most time in our lives. So a lot of us tend to get stuck way down at the bottom in that freeze state, or maybe bouncing between that and the fight or flight state. Neuroplasticity can come in and make it much more easy for you to get to that very top part where we have that safety and calm. We don't have to be wired to permanently stay in that stress state, right? We're constantly rewiring our brain all of the time, and our brains are wired, right, based on what we experience the most. So who you're around the most, what you do every single day, where you travel every day, what you're doing to your body, putting on your body, putting in your body. All of that influences your nervous system. And it's like walking a new path in a field or through a forest, right? The first time you might be pushing the grass down and pushing the brush down and you're stepping over a bunch of logs. But if you continue to walk that trail every single day, a trail starts to form and the grass disappears, and it's usually, it's dirt, and it might be rough at first, but the more you walk that path, the smoother it's going to get and the easier it's going to be to travel down that pathway. And that's the same with your thoughts. That's the same with your nervous system. Every time you stimulate your vagus nerve, maybe you're humming regularly, or you're doing your breathing exercises or other somatic practices. Maybe you're setting a nighttime routine where you're dimming the lights at 7:30 and only using like low amber bulbs, or maybe you have a warm cup of chamomile tea 30 minutes before bed. Doing those things consistently are going to trigger your nervous system and send that signal, hey, we're safe and we're okay. And those signals don't just feel good, they rewire your baseline. That means less anxiety, less chronic illness flare-ups, less palpitations, less insomnia. And this doesn't necessarily happen in one day, but it does happen. And with time, what feels impossible, like resting without guilt or shame, or feeling calm without trying so hard, all of it starts to come naturally. And that ends up being the way that your body wants to go, how it wants to be, right? So your nervous system can absolutely learn to be safe and to feel safe, even if it's never felt that safety before. How do we actually begin teaching the body what that safety feels like and conditioning it when it's been stuck in a burnout state or survival state for so long? So you don't have to do everything perfectly, and you don't have to do everything all at once. And in fact, your nervous system probably isn't going to respond well to that pressure. It's wanting gentleness, but consistency that's repeated over time in small steps. We're going to look at a few categories for safety signals that you can experiment with that are going to be manageable in short bursts for your brain and body. It's important to support your body's physiology when you're dealing with fatigue and dizziness, pain, anxiety, anything associated with burnout or chronic illness. And I'm not talking about just pushing through or just exercising. This is about nourishing your nervous system. So a few ways that I've done this in the past when I was going from being bedridden to getting my life back on track or working with other clients and patients was to lie on the floor with my legs up the wall, or maybe on the couch or on the bed. This helps support blood flow back to the heart. So when you have, say, POTS or poor circulation, maybe you're bedridden a lot or you don't move a lot, your blood flow is not great, right? Because the movement in our body, the muscles contracting and relaxing, helps to push that blood back to the heart so it can be filtered, get more oxygen, and take all those nutrients to the cells. So when we're not moving a lot, we're going to feel more fatigued. We're going to have less energy. We're going to have a hard time clearing the toxins out of the cells and getting new nutrients back into the cells. Putting your legs up, even for just 5 minutes or so, can help to calm the vagus nerve, can help to calm your nervous system, gently boost your energy. So another one that I've used, not necessarily with patients and clients who have things like histamine intolerance or POTS, because there's a lot of, again, it's a case-by-case basis, right? But a lot of people with those issues can feel overheated, and heat can be a trigger. So for the ones who don't struggle with that, using a warm compress on the abdomen or the throat or the forehead can also trigger that safety and let your body know, hey, I'm safe, hey, I'm supported. You can also rock slowly while being seated in order to stimulate that parasympathetic nervous system. So you can rock forward and backwards, or even rocking side to side, or even moving in circles either direction. It's that rhythmic motion that's telling your nervous system that, hey, it's okay, we're safe. And it triggers that safety. Even 30 seconds of rocking or swaying or even bouncing in place while either seated or standing can help stimulate that vagus nerve, which might help with brain fog. It may help with any anxiety that you're having in the moment. I know for me, when I'm having an anxious moment, a lot of the times I bounce my leg. It's the same situation, right? Like it's still triggering the same pathways to help the body wind down. But moving the full body in a motion is going to be more effective than just bouncing a leg. Wrapping yourself in a weighted blanket or a comforter and just reminding yourself, hey, I don't have to fix anything right now, right? Even better if you pair it with some really gentle humming or some deep breaths, like some physiological sighs or somatic sighs, where you take 2 inhales and then a long exhale, like right? Again, that stimulates the relaxation response. You don't have to leave your house. You don't have to spend a bunch of money. You don't have to take a lot of time to do these things, but they all help to use your body to remind your brain that everything's going to be okay. And it helps relax that anxiety and release tension. So let's move on to some brain approaches to calm down the body when it's in a stressed state. When you've spent years in survival mode, your mind often becomes very heavy, very clouded. You have a very judgmental voice in your head usually. And these practices are about softening that voice and even giving it some room to speak. So whispering things to yourself that are nice, that are kind, not forcing positive affirmations that you're not believing anyway, because they're not going to be effective. So start with little gentle truths and validations that your brain is willing to accept, right? So I'm allowed to rest without earning it. That can be something that you can remind yourself of when you're feeling restless in the moment, when you're trying to relax on the couch after work, or you're cooking dinner, or you're taking a shower. You can try to say, my body is trying to protect me, not punish me, right? That's good for reminding you that, hey, everything that your body's doing right now isn't necessarily a bad thing. It's conditioning and it's trying to keep you safe. You can also say, I don't have to rush this healing. Giving yourself the time and the space to heal is so validating and so important, because when we rush through our healing journeys, many times, and I've seen this with patients of my own and clients of my own, many times they feel better for a while and then they crash much worse than they were in the beginning. So it's very important to take your time, to be gentle with yourself, to go slow. You can also try to visualize a place where you feel safe. And this can be a real place or a fictional place. It doesn't matter. But visualizing it, for me, it was always like picturing myself in the backyard under the pecan tree and like watching the sunrise. So just picture something that makes you feel relaxed and let your nervous system see what that calm looks like. Because our brains have a difficult time distinguishing what's real from what's imagined. So even though you're inputting fictional visualizations into your brain, it's releasing happy chemicals that are very real. And those chemicals go throughout the body and tell the body how to respond. And maybe that response is loosening the shoulders, loosening the tension in the jaw. Maybe that's fixing the constipation in the stomach, because when we're in fight or flight, our nervous system isn't worried about going to the bathroom or absorbing nutrients and things like that. You can also do 1-minute sensory check-ins. This is what I have a lot of my clients do when they have high functioning anxiety. So you can ask, what do my feet feel like on the floor? Can I even feel my feet on the floor right now? Or am I dissociating and like out of my body? We want to bring it back down into the body. So what's one texture I can touch right now? Maybe it's the texture of my desk and it feels really smooth, or I can feel the carpet beneath my feet. What's one sound I can notice in this moment? For me, I can hear the AC. So there are different ways to anchor your physical senses and anchor your body back into the present. You can also journal 1 sentence per day. It doesn't have to be anything fancy, a single sentence, right? That takes just a minute or two. So 1 sentence that speaks directly to your nervous system. So you can say, today I want my body to know, ... Maybe that I'm listening now. Maybe that I finally feel safe again, whatever it is. And if you want more journal prompts, we do have a free 30-day journal for getting out of a chronic freeze state linked below. This isn't about mentally overriding your symptoms. It's about teaching your brain and body that it's actually safe, right? We're not trying to fake it till we make it. We're actually creating these physical chemical reactions in the brain that are then going through the body and saying, hey, we can relax. Lastly, it is important to check your environment. So for many people who have high functioning anxiety or are burned out, you know how stressful it is when you're around a lot of people, when you're out in public, when you're constantly scanning the environment, trying to scan every person, every exit, every potential threat or disaster that could happen. It's overstimulating. You already have a sensitive nervous system. We need to gently soothe it. And we don't need to renovate the house. We don't need to renovate an apartment or a living space, car, whatever your safe space is. We just need to make some gentle tweaks. So think about using soft indirect lighting, maybe low lamps or, some kind of fairy lights or something that are not super bright, super intense, and blue. We want something very warm because that is going to trigger your nervous system into that safe mode. Using smells, like using essential oils in a diffuser that are safe for you, right? That can be lavender for some people. Maybe it's vanilla or a warm citrus scent. Those can help to remind the nervous system, if you're using them every day around the same time, to calm down, because that brain is starting to associate it with relaxation. Creating a calm little cozy nook wherever it is, maybe, in a room, in your house, and you have your favorite book there, you have your favorite blanket there, you go there every single day at the same time to drink a warm cup of tea or coffee or hot chocolate or whatever it is. Make sure that that is all you use that space for. Find a space in your home that you use only for relaxation and peace. Maybe that's where you go to journal every day for a minute or two. Maybe that's where you go to meditate for 10 minutes a day. That space, when your brain sees it immediately after work or immediately after a stressful day, it's going to be a physical cue for peace and safety. It's going to be a physical cue telling your nervous system, hey, it's time to wind down. You can also put on nature sounds, instrumental music, worship music. Classical is really good for stimulating the parasympathetic nervous system. Something that isn't really heavy, doesn't have a lot of percussion, and doesn't have a lot of lyrics can help your nervous system to kind of settle instead of being a really amped up energy where it's ready to perform and act and hustle. Making sure that you unplug 5 minutes a day, right? Silence your phone, step outside for a walk for 5 minutes. Doesn't even have to be daytime if you want. Look up at the sky. No pressure on yourself. Just spend some time where you're not being productive, even if it's 1 to 5 minutes. For me, that was one of the most difficult things because as someone who is like hyper productive, that's just absolute workaholic, hyper productive, didn't know a life outside of productivity. Start small. Otherwise, you're going to freak out and then you're going to just go binge on productivity, right? Start small, just a couple of minutes a day where you are not being productive, where you're giving yourself time and permission to rest and to be in the space for that moment. I do want to remind you that it's not about controlling your entire environment, right? Because we can't always control everything that's going on around us. We can work on controlling what's going on inside of us, though, how we're responding rather than reacting to our environment, and cultivating those little areas of peace in our external environment help us internally with that safety. You don't have to do all of these at once. You don't have to do them perfectly. Just do one at a time. Do them gently, do them slowly, just for a few minutes, but do them consistently. Do them over and over again, because that is where the change is going to happen. Every time you're telling your body, hey, you're safe now, I've got you, in the moment, in one thought, in that environment, you're teaching it to speak a new language. You're teaching it what peace is feeling like, right? And over time, your nervous system becomes absolutely fluent in that language. And it's like that. It takes you no time to shift from a stressed, high-functioning state back into that parasympathetic rest and digest, peaceful safety state where your body can heal. Let's talk about what healing actually looks like. Because if you've ever tried any kind of nervous system work or somatic work and thought, hey, why is this not working? I'm not seeing a difference. I promise you're not alone. I see this a lot with my patients. The truth is, though, that healing doesn't always feel good at first, right? And it doesn't necessarily mean that you're doing anything wrong. Your body's been in a survival mode for months, weeks, years, and it's always bracing, always scanning, and it's not trusting peace, right? Safety can feel strange. It's foreign, uncomfortable because it's unknown to us, right? And that's like walking into a quiet room after living next to a train station where it's always chaotic and always loud. At first, that silence is deafening and eerie. It's not peaceful, right? And your nervous system says, hey, wait, no, something's wrong. It's too quiet. But that is your body adjusting. So you might feel numb or disconnected, even when you're doing all of the right things. giving it all of the safety cues. Maybe you start feeling really tired or get a lot of brain fog after you practice some of these techniques, or you feel really emotional for what feels like no reason, like crying after doing some breathing exercises or some tapping sessions, or feeling like you just have these waves of grief that are hitting you after you've been resting for a while. Maybe you notice that you're getting frustrated with old patterns, right? Because they can reemerge, they can come back, even if it's just for a few minutes or for an hour or for a day. You feel like you're regressing back to square one, but you're not, right? What's actually happening is your nervous system is reorganizing a bunch of information. Just like a frozen lake that is slowly starting to thaw, right? It's not going to crack all at once. The ice doesn't just disappear like that, right? It shifts around. Pieces will melt and they'll shift. And then some pieces might refreeze for a little while and then they'll melt again, right? Until all of it eventually has melted and it's water. And that's what progress looks like. How do you know it's even working? That might look like you're falling asleep easier, even if it's just once a week. It might look like you're sleeping an extra 20 to 30 minutes every few nights. Maybe you're catching your breath before you start to spiral. You're catching your thoughts even before you start to spiral. Maybe you're noticing a moment of stillness and you're actually enjoying it. You're actually able to be happy in that moment and feel into it. Maybe you're going through something stressful and you're realizing, hey, I didn't shut down this time. And that was a lot of pressure on me. These are tiny markers of healing, but they matter so much. So if your progress feels slow or quiet or inconsistent, that is still progress, right? Your body is learning a new way to exist. And it's absolutely okay if it takes time to believe that it's safe. Just stay there a while, right? Because healing is not about fixing. It's not about fixing anything. It's not about fixing you or your nervous system. You're not broken. Your nervous system's not broken. Your body's not broken. It's about remembering what peace feels like, one moment at a time. So if you do want some support or some gentle forms of accountability, or maybe even suggestions on ways that you can incorporate more peace and safety into your environment or into your nervous system from a top-down approach or a bottom-up approach, I would like to extend a warm welcome to our community that is free and open to anyone who wants to dive into more holistic healing, nervous system regulation, and looking for support for their chronic illness recovery. You don't have to fix everything alone, and you don't have to fix it all today. Keep going with those small, gentle shifts, and I promise you, you will notice drastic changes over time. And if you did enjoy this and you did find this helpful for you, please feel free to like, comment, share, and subscribe no matter what platform you are on. And if you do have any questions about what the heck I'm even talking about, because I know this is a lot of information and it can be overwhelming, or you don't know a place to start, I would love it if you would comment below so that I can gladly address any questions that you have.